breathe. And I learned this even more when I started running. So I decided one day I wanted to train to run a marathon. And so I went from walking, I couldn't even walk a mile, Paula. And so I went from not being able to walk a mile to training for a marathon. And as I was progressing, at one point I got out and I was doing my running thing and I got what they call runners call it side stitches. And this stabbing pain, it feels like a stabbing pain in your rib cage. That's what it feels like. And I didn't know what was going on with me. I was like, what is going on? Yeah. And I had to stop running. I barely got back to my car. The pain was so bad. And I got home and I did my research. What is happening with me? And this is what it said. You get side stitches when you are not pacing your breath with your run. So you're going faster. You have to get more oxygen in. And if you're not doing that, then your lungs kind of go into a spasm because they're not getting the proper amount of oxygen. And so I started paying more attention to my breath. And I realized in meetings, I was showing up, I was paying more attention to my breath. I realized I was holding my breath at certain parts in the meeting, Paula. I wasn't even aware I was doing that until I started paying attention to my breath. I was like, why am I holding my breath in this? I would hold my breath for 10 seconds. That's not good, Paula. That's not good for your body. That is an indication of stress.
Yes, yes.
And so I started studying about all the neurology that happens, all of the things that happen in your brain, the neurochemistry. I started studying all of that and understanding how all of that tied together. And if you're familiar with meditation practices, they start with breath. You practice breathing. Slow in, slow out, box breathing. Think different types of breathing that gets your physical body to calm down and get into a calmer state, which then helps your mind to calm down. You slow the breath down, you slow the mind down, and now your body, the neurochemistry starts triggering, I'm safe. And that shifts your energy. And you can bring that calm presence into wherever you are through how you control your breath. So I talk about it in my book. I talk about that breathing and how important it is.
I know you're a Christian. Am I right with that?
Say that again.
I said, I know you're a Christian. Am I right with that?
Yes, I am a Christian.
Yes. And I know when we talk about breath, even as a baby is born, the first thing is the breath we're taking, you know. And because we're Christians, we read the Bible and we talk, God breathed into us, into man, and that's the first breath. And I too have been taking note of breathing and how important it is for us. I mean, holding your breath, as you know, as you were talking about it, I was even now being more conscious of how I was listening to you and holding my breath, listening to you talking about holding your breath. And I've seen over the past few weeks as I've become more conscious about my health, more conscious about breathing exercises. You know, when I say breathing exercise, like in the morning, throughout the day, I should say, I've learned to, even if I'm not stressed, to stop, take a deep breath, hold it for taking count, taking a deep breath for 4 seconds, hold it for another 4, breathe out for 8 seconds. And how helpful that has been. And it comes down, I said, to the basic. When we calm ourselves down through breathing exercises, it changes so many things. I haven't done all the studies of the neurology because I said I'm being more intentional about so many things, what I put into my mouth, how I think, who I speak to, measured tones. And now speaking with you, as you say, it makes a difference in how we appear, how we show up in the world, how we show up in meetings, how we even relate to people. And as you say, when you calm yourself down, the way you're calmer, people feel it. And you change the atmosphere around you.
Oh, I love that, Paula. We change the atmosphere around. And so this is what I tell people. I ask the question, do you want to be a thermometer or a thermostat? So a thermometer responds to the environment around them and it moves based on what's happening but a thermostat controls the temperature of the environment. So you have to make a decision. Do you want to be a thermostat or do you want to be a thermometer? And so many of us in different ways show up as thermometers and we're just reacting to what's going on around us rather than doing exactly what you just said. You said, and I love the word intention. You show up with intention. And the intention is to show up with that calm presence and be that thermostat in the room. And I realized so for about 4 years in my career, I was facilitating meetings from every frontline employees all the way up to executives in the room. And I'm facilitating these meetings. And I realized, Paula, that this is where I realized the practice of this calm presence that I'm bringing into the room and how that establishes a certain energy in the room that allows people to either relax and lean in or can cause people to be more nervous. And if I walk in with that calm presence, people respond. I'm being that thermostat and it cools the temperature down in the room. So I would say to anyone, if you're walking into rooms and it seems every time you walk into a room, things are just going, ask yourself, when I walk into that room, what am I showing up as a thermometer and just reacting and flowing with whatever's going on in the room? Or am I showing up with that intention to be a thermostat and help set the temperature in the room?
That's important. And that's why you said you are the designer. And I remember earlier conversation, and you said that's what helps. It has taught you a new way of building businesses, a new way of navigating through this world.
Absolutely. And also, Paula, if anyone who's listening today, if you are a leader, which I believe we are all leaders in our own right, wherever you are, it doesn't matter your title. If someone's looking up to you, you are a leader. But here's the thing, Paula, I watched some of the best leaders that I had the opportunity to serve, and this is what they practice. They would show up with that calm presence and out of how they showed up, it impacted me. And so flipping that around, I had to ask myself, how am I showing up? so that because how I am showing up is impacting, is having an impact on the people around me.
Mm.
And so understanding that as a leader is so important because so many leaders talk about, I've heard leaders complain about their team, about, oh, the environment, oh, my teams, and they complain about it. And I want to let them know you have more power than you think you have on how you impact the people that you're leading. And it starts with this energy that you are bringing into the rooms where you show up with your people.
So one last tip I was going to say, I know you had you mentioned to me, feel free, if you do want to share it or not, that you had a serious health challenge at some point, and you realized that this is a resource that you could share. And as you mentioned, it's a leadership resource. It's a leadership choice. If you had an option to go back to your earlier days in corporate, what would you change? What would you say now to your earlier self? Not even to people, but to your earlier self. Rebecca, the younger Rebecca, you should have done this. Rebecca, if I know what I know now, this is what I would have done when I was younger.
Oh, wow. That is a big question.
We
To
can change
answer,
the
Paula.
question.
Yeah.
We
No,
can
it
change the
is,
question.
but it's a fantastic question. But I want to start with, yes, I did have a serious health event. And I want to use this. So your audience is women. And I want to say, if you have not had your mammogram, please go get your mammogram. I was diagnosed in October of 2024 with hormone receptor positive breast cancer. And that journey, it triggered a whole journey, of course, of all the treatment that followed to where I am today, which is cancer free. And here's the thing, and we're Christians. I believe that God provides healing for the human body in answer to believing in prayer. And again, it's a cooperation that you enter with God, and it takes you doing some things, and then God will do some things. This is how I believe. I believe that faith is an interactive thing, right? If you study the Bible, you will see God interacted with human. He interacted with the father of faith, Abraham. He interacted with Moses, and he would tell them to do some things. They would be responsible to do some things, and then he was responsible to do some things. And so that that whole cancer journey triggered that. But when we talk about the energy that you bring into it, again, I don't want to get too deep in it because I've studied a lot about, again, the neurochemistry, all the things that happen in your body when we're stressed are counterproductive to the healing process. So when you talk about this calm presence, facing a disease like cancer is very serious, but it matters what energy you bring into that healing process, into that treatment room, right? I had to have I had to have surgery, I had to have chemotherapy treatment, I had to have radiation therapy treatment. And what I'm talking about now, I practiced with my treatments, which were not easy, but I showed up with that calm presence. with that intention, even in all of those things. And my doctors was just comment about how well I was navigating the treatment process and how positive I was during the treatment process. But it was because of my faith, my belief in God, and again, the power of God to do what I couldn't do. But then I was responsible for doing some things. And what I would say to the younger me is to understand your limitations, but then also understand that you have responsibility to do some things and know that's like, where does my responsibility end and God's responsibility begin? Because so many times, Paula, we try to control things that are beyond our control, or we think about things that are beyond our control. I like Zig Ziglar is one of the leaders that I listened to during my career development. And he used to say, he said, when I would meet a challenge or face a challenge or a problem, he said, I would stop and say, God, we got us a problem. We got us a problem. And that is what I would say to my younger self too, is that you're not alone in it. God is with you in it, whatever it is. And that's what got me through my cancer treatment, is knowing that God, even though I was facing this, it was hard. There were things going on with my body that I couldn't control, but God was with me in it. He was walking with me in it. Or that, that poem, Footprints in the Sand, right?
Yes.
There are times when he's carrying us through it all, and being able to rest in that and knowing he's got me. And my job is to show up with the absolute faith that he can do what I cannot do.
Wow. What a great note to end on. To say thank you so much, Rebecca, for sharing with us today and for filling us with hope, knowing that when we can't do it, we have a Savior who can help us. And to know when your responsibility stops and when God takes over, and to let Him take over, because we can't do it all. So to those who are listening, who have not joined us in the audience and who are listening, if they'd like to know more about you and get in touch with you, how can they find you? And I'm sure you are online. So how can they find you online?
So I hang out most, so you can look me up. I can share my link here in the chat.
I'll drop it in.
Rebecca H. Mott.
Mm.
And my website is www.trainwithrebecca.com. And I love helping leaders of all kinds understand how to lead with that intention, with that purpose that will inspire their people. Because I say this, we are better together.
And love it. We are indeed better together. And for those of you who are listening to this on Audible or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or watching us on YouTube, if you'd like to be a guest on Chatting with the Experts, you can reach out to me on my website, which is chattingwiththeexperts.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. A lot of my content is on LinkedIn. Just look for Chatting with the Experts there, or my profile page, which is Paula Okone. I'm on Instagram. My handle there is chat_experts_podcast. And I'm on Facebook, my personal page, and also the business page, which I'd love for you to follow, which is Chatting with the Experts. And last but not least, we have a YouTube channel that we'd love, love, love for you to subscribe to, because that's where you can listen to not just Rebecca, all the other women and a few men who have been guests on the show who share my mission, which is to educate, empower, encourage, and inspire women globally. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining us today. Now we will open up the floor for those who joined us in the audience so that they can ask you the questions that I always say that the questions that I forgot to ask you. That's what they'll do. Thank you again. Rebecca. Ooh, that was so good. That was so good, so good. Thank you. Oh, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining. Thank you for what you said. Everything. Oh my gosh. 1 second. I'm trying to get us off YouTube. 1 second. We are streaming on YouTube. And YouTube doesn't want to stop. 1 second. So for those of you who joined us, wasn't she awesome? Wasn't she amazing? Wasn't she just the best? I'm gonna pin you, Rebecca.
Okay.
And I just want to leave. Why isn't YouTube allowing me to get off of it? 1 second. I want to stop streaming there. Let me just end it. All right. I'm back here. So this is the time for those of you who joined to ask Rebecca any questions. As I said, that I may have forgotten to ask her. I'm lost for words. I am lost for words. But what I do know is Dr. Cheryl has some questions for you, or she has a comment here. Dr. Cheryl, do you want to unmute, or do you want me to just go ahead and read what you have written here? Which I can. You are saying that a recent epiphany that you would like to share with all is the context of what our speaker is saying about faith, conditional actions on our path is, it is written. As long as we are obedient, walking in sync with the Lord, Holy Spirit, we do need to rest. It is written means that every iota or second or action of our life has already been written. Yes, we need to be in good steward of what we have been called to do, and a guide is in how we respond. And that's written in Philippians 4:8. If things are not working out, it could either be it is not written, or we need to recalibrate and come back and track on what the Lord has or had directed. I share all this in humility, and I hope it helps everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. That's given it that's a perspective I've never really thought of. I've always thought of it from the angle it is written, so that's concrete. But as you are saying, if it's not written, that means it wasn't meant to be, more or less, right? Dr. Cheryl?
Okay, I'll thank you for sharing that. So I'm also reminded, well, first and foremost, thank you, Ms. Mott, for your talk. I appreciate it. So it's nice to hear different perspectives and hear people's journeys. Thank you. So yeah, so the context I was talking about, it is written as well. I literally had this recent epiphany.